Hello, 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 everybody. This is AltJake of AltJakeTakesOn. You're listening to an extra take here today. I've got my buddy George Capture with me here. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing really good, Jake. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. I'm always excited to get on here and record and put out more content for the people that are liking, subscribing, sharing. Please, as always, like, subscribe, share, do all those great things. We are growing. We are on the march to 200 subscribers and then the march to 500. So we are continuing to grow. But I'm going to kick the start of this one over here to you because this is an idea that you had for an extra take that I thought was great and I'm really excited to get into. But why don't you kick us off there, my friend?
Yeah, I think a couple episodes ago, I had mentioned we were just discussing something in passing, and I mentioned that I wanted to go through the NXT women's roster to show how it was these days. So I want to go through some of the ladies and what they're doing and how we're looking and who's going where.
I've got the roster page up that we'll pull up here, and I actually thought it was a good idea then, but I think it's a great idea now because of the recent call-ups. You know, we've seen Roxanne Perez get called up. We saw Julia get called up and both be officially Roxanne on Raw and Julia on SmackDown. So they're kind of set up, you know, that there's going to be some shakeups and some changes with the roster. I see it looks like there might be some other ladies being called up sooner than later as well. So it'll be kind of cool to see, you know, where they are now, where they could go. So I just got the roster page pulled up. Shout out to the SmackDownHotel.com. That's where we pulled this one from. They got a pretty good setup with them alphabetically. And then if we go individuals, you can kind of get in some profiles of anybody if we want to as well. But yeah, just kind of want to kick us off, and we'll just start with Adriana Rizzo, unless you had anything else before we get rolling.
My only fear with the call-ups are, like with Julia, I've noticed people don't know her yet.
Yeah.
So that's my only fear with all these, because these are all in NXT. They're all noticed. I mean, I know who they are.
Yeah.
So,
we're always
the only thing I'm looking for. That's the only thing.
And that's something that we always have to. It's always hard to think of. You got to put your other hat on, because we're the people that watch every week. You know, I've been watching NXT religiously for almost a year now. You know, I would keep an eye on it before, but I was really starting to get into it last summer once I knew they were heading to the CW and seeing how that growth was going to be. But obviously, not everybody watches. I mean, we see what the ratings are. You see what the views are on the YouTube and in Twitter and all of that. Although there are moments that do go very viral. I know. Obviously, last year, Joe Hendry being on NXT, and this year when Ricky Saints debuted, I mean, that one got, I think that was the most viewed WWE video on X up until, WrestleMania happened. So, so there's definitely a lot going on that people keep paying attention to, but you don't get to know and make that connection with the superstar as well unless you're watching. And with someone like Julia, it might be a little tougher because of the language barrier, but she is phenomenal in the ring, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. With Roxanne, I feel like she almost already got.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I feel like Roxanne got herself over with a tray full of chicken nuggets. Like the moment she did that, everybody was like, we understand who you are. This works. We get it. You know, I feel like that'll happen with Julia. I just feel like Roxy had that perfect moment.
Yeah, I'm looking at the names, and I'm looking at the big names that might be called up, because Stephanie's going to be next, but we'll get to her in a minute. But
yeah,
the only problem is going to be getting connected with the new audience, and we'll see.
For sure. Yeah. No, so we'll just kind of get started here, and I'll just got to pull them up page by page. We'll just pull up with Adriana Rizzo. I'm a pretty big fan of the family situation and that whole group and how it works, but I do kind of expect that to be going away sooner than later. So it's one of those situations that it'll be interesting what they do with her. I think that's why she's been, quote unquote, sent away from the family as well. I think she will. They'll reintroduce her somehow. Maybe she'll keep that part of the character with it, or maybe it'll kind of be of a revamp situation, which is NXT's strength, really, of being able to figure out what's the best for each of these superstars.
Has she wrestled though?
She has a little bit, yeah. It's been more a fight. Maybe was it Lola Vice that she got into a situation with, and then I think something. I thought it was going to lead to more of a match with Izzy Dane throughout this whole thing with the culling, but I don't think so. I think I know she's wrestled a little bit, but not much.
Yeah, okay. So she's probably going to be down there for a bit then.
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, she's 26 years old, former
okay.
track and field athlete. That's what I liked about this page. That's, again, shout out to the SmackDown Hotel. This is good. It kind of gives us that extra information that we didn't fully know about each of these ashes. You can get deep in more to it, but that was at least a good start for it. I still think there's a high ceiling and good potential for her.
Yeah, she's got some things to do, but she'll be there
Yeah.
eventually.
Yep. No, for sure.
Right.
One of my favorite stories in NXT is Ariana Grace, simply because she's Santino Marella's daughter, and the stuff with her and him on TNA has been some of the best stuff and one of the biggest reasons to watch TNA, just because it's cool to see, a father and daughter working together and seeing how well they are. But she is very talented. I'm not so sure she's super talented in the ring yet, but she's got the charisma. She can work in any situation. She's got great comedic timing, whether she's playing the foil and being the one that's getting, the buckets of whatever slops poured on her, or if she's the one delivering the stuff and the messages. So I really think highly of her personally.
It looks as though, I know both of us have talked about the need for managers and valets up in the.
Yep.
That's going to be a spot where these women are going to excel if that changes up top in the company.
Man, yeah, this is why we're a team, buddy. That was literally where I was going to go into it. I feel like that might be the best spot for her. But I think it's a good thing, though, for have people, females or males, becoming in that manager, valet type situation, but going through the PC. So not only they understand the timing and the business and what's going on in the ring more, but so they know how to take a bump. Because, we know some of those stories, like, I know with certain managers, or like with Paul Heyman, when he took that power bomb, it doesn't look right, or it doesn't come off as well, or someone can get really hurt, as where with someone who at least knows how to take the fall and not do the move, but sell the move well. I think it's a good thing, and I think she's very, very talented, if not so much in ring, but as a character, and I think they've done that very well with her being the liaison of NXT and TNA. So even if she's not on NXT each week, she's been on TNA, I think, every week for the last 2 or 3 months. I don't watch TNA every single Thursday, but I try to, or at least catch the highlights, and she's in a lot of them. Basically, if there's an NXT superstar coming over, she's in a vignette with them, or with the ladies, and I don't know how it'll work now with Gigi Dolan being released, and same with is it Shotzi Blackheart. But when they were on TNA, Ariana was on commentary, which I thought she was pretty good at that as well. She's definitely got the chops for a lot of things outside of the ring.
Yeah. See, go back to the main screen there real quick.
Sure. Yep. I was heading there. Yep.
Once the let's see, the top row plus the next one after it, that Dailies or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
All these girls are going to be the ones that excel when the other ones get to move up.
Yeah, well, I think
when we get to the main people that start moving up pretty soon, you're going to see these people that we don't know that much about step into those shoes.
Well, I think that's the beauty of what not only LFG did, but what Evolve is there for. Evolve is kind of there to be that next level, and that's one of the reasons why when we were starting this here today, I was excited for it because of the recent call-ups. Like this is the perfect time to do this, because there's gonna be a lot of shakeups and change, and to a sadder point, there probably will be more releases or non-contract renewals over the summer and before the year's out, but that's part of the deal. So it'll be interesting to see how people come up from them. And then with the next two, with Brindley Reese and Carly Bright, they're both younger superstars that I think they're both doing stuff on Evolve right now. I will admit I have not watched much of Evolve. I want to. I put it on from time to time, but there's a lot of content out there. We all have. I'm a married man, and I've got jobs, other things to do. But I think those two will be two of the ones that come up pretty quickly and be featured more once more people get called up, or as the roster changes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so there's no doubt. There's people we're just not familiar with yet, or we just know a little bit about. They're going to be
the next two,
household names, probably.
the Chick Tormenta and Dailies, they're both AAA superstars but they've signed the deals or their contracts have been absorbed by WWE. I know there's a lot of talk of they're thinking that, people have signed with WWE. It's not that so much. It's that they're continuing AAA with TKO WWE as the head in charge of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we'll see a lot more of them coming up. Oh, just so everybody knows, this little symbol to here does mean that someone is inactive. Yeah, there it comes. So if you see that symbol over there, then you haven't seen them on TV or anything. Why it's just either injured, out for whatever reasons. But who I do think has a big future ahead of her who's next on the list is Fallon Henley. Fallon Henley.
Now we get into it.
Yeah, right. Now we're starting to get into some of the big ones here. Fallon Henley. I don't know if you saw back when Fallon Henley was the reason was the one that Tiffany Stratton lost to in her last match and last feud in NXT before being sent up to the main roster last year. So, that showed me they had big plans for her, and she's done a lot since. And I think with what's happened in the storylines recently, and if everybody could see what she was doing in the background or even in the foreground on some of those shots, it seems like it'll be a feud for the NXT Women's title for her coming in through this summer. But I think she's got a big future ahead of her. She's got some size. She initially came in as that shucks kind of baby face who was a farm girl and just
she was the farm girl chick.
Yeah, and that was what they did with Tiffany Stratton. She beat Tiffany Stratton, made her work on the farm for a day, and that was literally the last thing Tiffany did in NXT, where she was, feeding the horses and falling into the troughs and all those kind of, it felt like world class with was it Ronnie Garvin? I mean, it was Jimmy Garvin, I think, that had to go to the Von Erich's house and watch the dog and all that with Precious. And that's what that scene reminded me of with Tiffany Stratton and Fallon Henley. But she's only done good things since then. And I like even how this page gives you this right here. It tells you who they're in the team with on their individual page as well. This is a very good comprehensive site. Shout out to the SmackDown Hotel again. But yeah, I think she's got a big future ahead of her for sure.
Yeah.
30 years old. I bet you. Yeah, I bet you she's NXT women. She's probably the next NXT Women's Champion. I would think. That's my bold prediction for Fallon Henley.
I would say not, but okay.
I don't know. I just throwing it out there for what. Yeah. Well, I just think with her, with JC Jane, I mean, it could be Jordan. Well, we'll see. Izzy Dane next up on the list. I think that she's kind of been able to show more of the character by being in the group with the culling. I haven't seen a lot of her in-ring work, so I don't know how good she is there. But I do think this is where also NXT shines with people like Sean Spears as the player coach. I think is the best way to say it. He really is. He's in there. He can do the stuff in the ring, but he's really there, I think, at this point to kind of be solidified as that player. I don't know if he'll ever see him on the main roster outside of like Royal Rumble or, being the fake Randy Orton. He was the fake Randy Orton that John Cena hit before Backlash. But yeah, it'll be interesting what they do with her. Maybe if Rizzo comes back, that'll be the feud that Rizzo has, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with her.
I've seen a little bit about her. I don't know too much about her, but
I feel like
I do know something about.
Yeah, I feel like this situation with her costing Tony D'Angelo in his matches and being part of the culling is kind of they're giving her that best chance to move forward, which I think is great for NXT. I think that's what they're good at, of being able to have people do babyface for a while and then do good heel work as well. Kind of, season all your skills beforehand. All right, so I'll let you lead off then with JC Jane.
Well, no, we mentioned the template last show. The template for what they're doing to get guys going is have them start off as either a babyface or a heel for a year, and then flip over to the other side for a year. Make sure you're good and comfortable with your character, then move up.
Yep. So and then sometimes if they'll be maybe like you do even a little bit more, a little bit extra and stuff of, well, where do you need to be seasoned best? I feel like that's what we said it before on the last time with Breaker. I think that was why they did the stuff with him and Corbin, to kind of show that dynamic team, have him kind of be that funnier baby face kind of thing. It was great. And now look at him go. But next up on the list is the new.
Is JC the official leader of Fatal Influence?
That's I don't think. I think she thinks she is.
Yeah.
And I think Fallon thinks she is, which I think that's why that feud is happening sooner than later. Fallon Henley was said even in the vignette or the backstage interview before the match.
But
Fallon
that was
said,
all that was all done for a ruse, though, wasn't it? Weren't they?
I think that's probably how JC thinks, but it seemed like Fallon was eyeballing that title at the end of the show, and I think she wants it. And the way the storylines worked out, like she was trying for it and didn't get it, and then JC avenged her and she got the title. That feud is happening sooner than later, I think. But
they're in the same same thing, same.
It'd be interesting who they turn babyface out of it. I would think it would be Fallon, but we'll see. But JC Jane is the new NXT Women's Champion.
Can I picture JC Jane as a babyface?
That's why I said Fallon.
yeah, Fallon works.
I was thinking that. I'm like, well, they tried to. That I'm like, I mean, yeah,
JC's got that bad girl look, and I like it.
She does, and she pulls it well.
Yeah.
She knocks it out of the park. Whether she's as the leader of it or the second, whatever, she's just really good at it,
And she is the champion.
She is. She's the NXT Women's Champion. Good for her. And I mean, talk about the shock of all shocks. That show this week was great. We'll talk about it in our next full episode. There's a few different things I want to talk about with that one, but obviously they've got high hopes for JC Jane. I mean, she's not only was pushed through two different groups, but she's now the NXT Women's Champion. So it'll be fun to see what they do with it. Hopefully it's not just a transitional thing like some folks are saying for Jordynne Grace. But if it is, hey, she still got to be champion. So good for her.
Since you're on Fatal Influence, skip Jada Parker and go to Jasmine, then we'll go back to Jada.
Sure, good call. I like it. All right, Jasmine Nix. I like how they give you that option to do that. That's very nice. Jasmine Nix, I feel like she's good. I just feel like she's the third member of Fatal Influence. It's kind of like she's there to make it a stable and a faction, but I'm not sure.
She's there. JC Jane has gotten enough experience up there now where she can actually teach Jasmine some tricks of the trade, I would think.
And I feel like that's why they put her there with her. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Because it seems like, if I remember correctly, JC and Jasmine were together first, and then Fallon kind of came in and they made that into a group when they were, but I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to, there's a lot of storylines going on to try to remember, but
NXT's loaded with that shit. That's for sure.
They are. And it's one of those, and it's, and sometimes they will, what they're good about, I think they've got the freedom to do because they don't have as big of ratings and they aren't as important as if something isn't working or failing, they move off of it right away. Like there were certain things I've seen where you saw they were going with it, and then 2 weeks later, people were gone over there or just not doing that again. And, so not everything's going to work. I mean, that's what NXT is. That's why it will always be developmental. Yes, it's its own brand. It is a third brand, but it's still really at its core developmental. You're still figuring things out. Even sometimes they even have to send people down to refigure themselves out before they go back up. It's part of the process. But
yeah, I would assume they're going to leave Fatal Influence alone for a while. And leave that subtle tension going on behind. You know what I mean?
You're probably right.
Just let it roll. Let that build. Let it build up for a while.
Especially
that's a good stable. I like it.
Yeah, especially with like how they can do it, where they're just giving each other the eyes and the looks. Like WWE is great about stuff in the background or having to watch the whole scene, as opposed to the old days where it was always the same angles and Bucky Beaver's camera cuts. Jada Parker, I mean, you can't say enough good things about her. She's definitely the total package. She's got size, she's got a great look, she's got an awesome attitude, she connects with the fans. Even there's matches, she's usually a babyface in her matches, but there's times where she's been the heel and just look at people like, all right, you're going to give me that, I can change it. So I think, I don't want to say I think the world of her, but I think the company thinks the world of her. I think she's only 26 and she's got a good athletic background. So
they put her with two young dudes too, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the OTM group, but there was three because it was what's his name? the guy who was Scripps for, and then he was also Reggie. Remember him?
Oh yeah,
He went
Reggie
down there,
Beat
and to his credit, he did change himself down there and give that look. I just feel like they kind of, with his size and his background, I think he maybe has the chance to go out there and make a name for himself and come back. But I wasn't surprised when I don't even think they fired him. I believe he was one of the ones they just didn't renew the contract, which happens, that's part of it. But I think Jada Parker will be. I think she'll be a very featured player for not only the rest of the year, but for a good long while. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her getting that North American Women's Championship sooner than later, or at least being in that mix.
Yeah, she's up in the conversation.
Yeah.
Next up in the conversation.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but talk about the NXT Women's Championship next. Jordan Grace, which this is a very old picture of her. I feel like that's TNA Jordan Grace. She's not quite as juggernauty now. I feel like she's trimmed it down and made it so she's more of she's move a little bit better. I feel like she was a little bit too bodybuildery before.
Yeah, more of a woman.
Yeah, that too. I just feel like more for just movement's sake. With Brock Lesnar, like he's always big. There was times where I felt like Brock was almost too big and he would hurt himself for being able to move. There's like that right size where you're big, but you're, especially for this business, you got to be lean enough to be able to not only move, but take the bumps too, especially in NXT and with the women's roster now. But I don't
think she's ready to come up yet, dude.
Oh,
I know people have talked about it like she's coming up sooner than later. I'd rather it be later.
I think here's the thing about her is I think she's great, but you got to remember she was on the first All In. Like that was her first ever really big show. Like she credits that. That's where she puts that post out about Cody, where she credits him for giving her that opportunity, and he pushed hard to get her on that show. And then literally like days later, TNA made her that offer and she did that until that. So she hasn't been in the business that long. Just she was in TNA, which she was going to, with her look and her style and being able to push her, like she did really, really well in TNA. But I think she needs time in the PC. And I think she knows that. It seems like she's got no problem with it. She didn't expect to be. And I feel like they're going to be open with it now. They're not going to do the old Vince thing where, we're going to give you the opportunity. I'm going to push you to the moon, pal. We're going to give you all these chances. But he didn't really mean it, as where I feel like now they probably told her, look, we're going to bring you up, or we're going to put you in NXT, but we're going to make sure you put in the work. Here's your coaching. You're going to get mentioned, but you're going to be on TV every week. We'll get to establish you, and then once you're ready, you'll be called up. I don't think there's any rush. Plus, I know she got a really good deal financially from them, so I think she'll be.
She seems very enthusiastic when she's in the ring.
I think she's real excited,
and that's not what you need.
Yep. If you look at or listen to most interviews with retired stars, or just listen to podcasts, and they always ask, what's the advice that you give to people? What is the number one thing you hear? Slow down. Just slow down a little bit. Take a breath. Take a minute. That's one of the biggest things that wrestling. It makes sense though. You see it in these matches where moments work. It's because they took a moment. You were selling something. Take a breath. You don't need to rush from this to this to this to this. You got to if nothing else, you got to let the fans absorb what they just saw before you run into the next thing.
Yeah, she'll be all right.
She'll be great.
Just got to learn to calm it down. She'll be fine.
I think what NXT has showed is if you're willing to be coached, they will coach you up, Next up, we've got Carmen Petrovic, who's been, I don't think she's been on NXT for really more than a year. They've been pushing her decently. I think she's growing well. So she's under 30. She just recently had that program with Ashante the Adonis. That was, it was good for her. She gave her time on TV and stuff, but
I would think future star.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I think she's in that position where she's really got to perform not every time like over the top, but make sure she just does well as she's moving forward, because there's so many people on her tail. You know what I mean? Like clearly with the ID program, Evolve and LFG, but you take the coaching and put in the work, and she's definitely And she's definitely improved. I know the first time that I saw her, it was one of those situations where she was a little stiff, and it seemed more just like a lack of confidence, as opposed to a lack of knowledge. As where at least now, especially with the stuff with Ashanti, she definitely was able to show confidence and character in herself, and that's what NXT's for. So future star for sure. Well, future star, hopefully.
Yeah. Now Kalani is one of the few people that I've actually seen when she first started and what she is now. Boy, this woman has learned a lot in a short amount of time.
Wow. And she's one of those examples of why the NIL program is amazing. Because you've got people, Kevin Apollo talked about it with us on Spaces about how you've got people that have been coached as an athlete from the top level, from either from the time as a teenager or even before, all through college, especially at those top level colleges that want to be coached and want to grow and want to be part of a team. And there's certain people, that have that, it's had that in them. Braun Breaker was a football player for, was it Kennesaw State and the NFL. Just talking about Jada Parker, she was a D1 soccer player. It's one of those things where it's a perfect pivot. Not everybody's got the charisma, not everybody's going to be able to pull it off, but the ones that do and want to be coached, you can literally watch the progress. She's one of the ones. There's another one that's coming up that was the biggest improvement that I saw, but Kalani was right there under.
Because if you remember when you first saw her, she looked really nervous the first time and looked really like she didn't know what the hell was going on. And now she looks like a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, and same with like backstage promos. It felt like she wasn't like mousy, but she was just didn't have the confidence right there. Exactly. And now she's got that in there.
Okay.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, Kalani's good. I like her.
I think she's great. Yeah. And I think the company's had confidence in her. I mean, they've given her the North American title. She's usually in that mix.
I don't know Kendall Gray.
I was gonna say I feel like she's been hurt recently and more on Evolve. She's super young, 23 years old. So yeah, that's she's got time. Lainey Reed would be another one, and she also shows inactive. That's not a name that I know that much about. The next one, though, is exactly who I was wanting to talk about next, because Lash is the one that I noticed that was just really she wasn't confident. You could just tell she didn't quite know where to be and how, and she's a big girl with a lot of strength, and she just didn't know how to use it. And then within 6 months, she looked really good. And then a year, there's a lot of people that think she should already be on the main roster. I don't yet. I think she needs a little bit more time as a single, which is what she's getting now. But she needs to be one that's in that NXT women's title mix for sure.
Yeah, you have to know how to use, because she's, like you said, I'm not saying she's big. She's bigger than the normal girls.
Oh, she was a basketball player. No. She's got a frame. She's tall.
So you have to know how to use that with the smaller girls that there are in the ring, and you have to know how to get accustomed to that. And she wasn't used to it yet. That's all.
Right. And exactly. And then her character, though, it was such a disconnect because her character work pretty initially. She had the confidence on the microphone. She'd say the word, but she needed training. She needed time. But again, she was a basketball player. I believe she actually played in the WNBA, not just top level college basketball. So she's been coached. She's a real athlete. And you can see it now. People were saying that they thought she was for sure coming up to the main roster. I was hoping that she would stay in NXT and get a little bit more seasoning and coaching so that she can kind of hit the ground running. And when she gets to the main roster, if she does go up to the main roster, I think the role for her would be as like Naomi's heater, be like Diesel for Naomi, Shawn Michaels, but doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. It seems that they're, from what I looked last on, what was it, Tuesday night, she was the last person that stared down Stephanie Vaquera as she was walking out to the ring. So, but
they got plans for her, no problem.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why she's the one that was kept. I mean, they kept Noam Dar too, but Jakara Jackson and I forget the other guy's name from Metaphor. They were both released, and she wasn't. There's a reason. Another one who wasn't released. The other one who wasn't released, and for a good reason, is Lola Vice. She's the one too. If there's one girl that you don't want to mess with in the NXT women's locker room, for real, it's this girl. She is real tough. She had a former was it UFC or at least MMA fighter. I don't know if she ever was in UFC. I don't follow MMA that closely, but
she can go.
She can go. She's got good personality. She's got good fire too. That feud with Jada Parker, I honestly think they might want to go back to that and get more out of that, because it was really good for both of them. Like, it's one of those feuds that it doesn't matter who quote unquote wins out of it. They both came out looking much better, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's called up not sooner than later, but I would think at some point relatively. Maybe before the year's out. I don't know, but she's awesome. I think she's a very talented girl, and I would not want to take that punch. That thing looks like it hurts.
I'm good with it. I'll take it.
Nikita Lyons. I think her best bet is to work her tail off in Evolve. I think that's what she needs, and as far as I've seen, and from again, there's certain reports that you read, and who knows what reports are real anymore, but I did see a few different things about people that were given the opportunity to go down to Evolve or just cut their losses and move on. And it seems like certain people were like, I still want to do this. Give me the chance and Evolve and let me prove myself. And that if that's the case with her, more power to her, because that's what she just needs more work and more time. And less time.
I think she's on her last leg here, I think. So we'll see what happens.
I agree. I feel like that's what is it? There's was it Last Chance U? I feel like there's the Evolve people. Like, if you were on NXT and then now you're only on Evolve, that's basically your version of Last Chance U. It's just, it is what it is. But best of luck to her. Hopefully she's successful there, because the music videos that I've seen, woof. Yeah,
I would say her best bet is if WWE goes back to managers again.
Great. Yep. She fits right into that room, because she is good enough on the mic. She can have that confidence. She could do that. But if she wants to be in the ring, I don't know, because you got people like this woman who is incredible. I mean, I don't know if I've seen anybody say anything bad about Sol Ruca yet. I mean, she's got the great personality. She's fun. Just in general, she's great in the ring, and she can do some crazy things that people haven't seen shoot from men, let alone from a woman. And she's got good size too. She's tall. She's got some muscle to her, and it looks like her moves would hurt you.
Yeah, that Soul Snatcher looks pretty nasty, don't it?
It does. But I mean, really, from the person taking it, it's just an RKO or a diamond cutter.
I'm talking from her end.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say, but for her, but I mean, that's what she's done from the moment she showed up in NXT. And what's cool is, I feel like, it was either her return or her debut with the vignettes at the surfboard and stuff. And from that point, when I've seen her and she's come in, she's just been awesome. Which clearly, I mean, they've got the North American title on her and the Speed title on her, so great for her.
Yeah, she's definitely made the most improvement out of anybody.
Oh yeah, and and it just seems like she's ready for anything. She's just like, cool, bring it on. I don't think confidence was ever an issue with her. It doesn't seem like it, at least. Next up, we have got who probably won't be there for much longer. It's funny they still have this on there because they've taken out. But the former NXT Women's Champion, La Primera, Stephanie Vaquer, who I think the only reason she's still even involved with NXT is because of a week from Saturday at Worlds Collide. She's going to be a part of that. Fun. And then she's on her way up. I don't know if it'll be to Raw or SmackDown, but she was ready when she first got to NXT. But because that was the offer she was made. You can go either way, but she was smart enough to go, hang on, let me just make sure, get the coaching. The main roster will be there. Let me get settled. Let me get my feet wet, which all the respect in the world to somebody who's making a smart enough decision like that, as opposed to just going, Which, I mean, she made a decision when she signed with WWE because I'm sure AEW's salary offer was much bigger, but okay. She knew I'll take a smaller initial salary for a career, and she probably already made it in merch sales because from what I see, those T-shirts sell pretty darn well.
Yeah, she's they brought her up already to SmackDown, right?
Or it was Raw. It was Raw. It was
mediocre crowd reaction so far, which is fine because nobody knows her yet. So I'm waiting to see what the crowd thinks of her when she gets going.
So
we'll see. We'll see. I'm not confident yet. We'll see.
So I agree with you. Her first time out, she got a mediocre reaction, but I feel like after that match that got interrupted, that Io Sky match, then next time she came out on Raw, I thought she got a pretty good pop, but I could be wrong. There's so much going on, and I played music in bands for enough years where I can't really hear out of my right ear that well. So that's
it wasn't like they were booing her. I mean, they were
not even booing. I just felt like it's silent, but
it wasn't silent. It was a halfway decent. I mean, it's not like they were.
Not a huge pop. Yeah. But I feel like with her charisma and attitude, just like she did with NXT, give her a couple of weeks, put her in the right feud in the right situation, and she'll be fine. Because she can do just about anything from what we've seen.
I will see what happens. Like I said, my only thing is the NXT crowd that you see on TV is the smartest of the smart people.
This is true.
They knew who WWE was. And the WWE crowd is not the NXT crowd. So when you hear Tony fumble chants in NXT, you don't hear them in WWE because they're not that smart.
Because they don't know who
they don't know AEW, they don't know any of this stuff.
No, you hear it like
I'm going to be interested to see when they get her up full time. I'm going to be interested to see how it progresses.
Yeah,
that's all it's going to progress.
And I think a lot of that will be how her first initial feud goes and how they book her, and that's one of those things where nowadays we have confidence at least that they are as where years ago under Vince, like gosh, so now her name will be Stephanie V or something, or Stephanie Viper or something stupid, and then she's changes her whole gimmick. And so, but now at least it'll be a smooth transition. It'll be interesting to see what happens after Worlds Collide, because I would think it would be the move would be bring her up either the Raw or SmackDown after that show or right around it, so that you can have her as a least featured player at the Evolution 2 show, because she definitely has the skills and the talent to be there, and that would be a good way to feature her and get her over. But we will see.
Yeah. And Stevie Turner is just a general manager, I think, right?
Right. Well, she's the assistant to she's assistant to Ava on NXT, and she is the general manager of Evolve.
Yeah.
So,
that's what she's doing. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. With a British accent. Tatum Paxley, she was the one who survived out of the whole forget what they had. The group had a name, but they were only a group for a couple of weeks with Gigi Dolan and Shotzi Blackheart. But they kept her, and so maybe there's a reason why. I'm not quite sure. She's good with the character work. Her crazy character definitely is fun, and she's pretty good at ringing. Like when her and Gigi went to TNA for a couple different weeks and had some matches with I forget the name of the tag team there they had a match with, but they were good enough matches. Those were the ones that Ariana Grace was on the mic or was on commentary with. But I think she's again in that situation where now there's going to be some shifting with people have left and moving people up. She's going to get her chance to shine, and we will see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen her.
Yeah,
wrestle. She's decent, but again, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to put her in some sort of storyline through like Thea Hale and Jada Parker and stuff. So we'll see where it goes.
Speaking of which,
right? I was just gonna say, man, I was a professional with the transition there. Thea Hale, which I think another person who is going to have their moment to go and shine because she's actually no longer in Chase U. Andre Chase is reforming Chase U with it, but she's purposely staying away from it and breaking out, which she needs to. Chase, and which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, as you've mentioned already that they're going to use the template. She was a baby face with Chase U through that. Okay. I would think what it'll be is that she's going to act like she's trying to help Tatum and be a part of that, but then she'll actually turn on Tatum and either join Jada Parker as a heel or just go be a heel on her own, which I will see how it goes. I'm not sure if she can pull it off, but if she can, great, because she is pretty talented in the ring from what I've seen. She's a little small, but
that's why I don't think you'll see her in the main roster at all. I think she'll be a NXT girl for a while, like forever.
Yeah,
I can't see him calling her up. I think she's a good person. Right. She's a good hand for what they need in NXT, but I don't think they need her in the main roster.
Yeah, I mean she is very young though, so you could see a growth or a change or whatever. But
she's growing 5 feet tall.
All right, that's a good point. She's not gonna.
No, she's good. She's really good.
No, she's
size. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, if she can pull out better, because Stephanie Vacquer's not that tall, Liv's not that tall, Julia's not that tall, but they're a lot more talented. But we'll see. I think I'm very interested to see what she does if she does go heel. But again, I mean, she could be a position where if she could be a great manager at some point. Who knows? Coming up to the Tyra May Steele, she's the girl. I think she's the one who won LFG, as far as I know. Because she's the one that was she's an Olympic gold medalist. Like they are going to push her to the moon as long as she is good enough. Obviously with Gable Steveson, that was a fail, but that guy was as charismatic as, a lamp. Was he boring? From what I've seen of her,
she needs gonna need a lot of work, but she'll be there.
Yeah. That's why, and again, like we said, as someone who can take coaching, if you were an Olympic wrestler, you've been able to be coached. Wendy Chu, I think, is another one on that last leg in Evolve. Hopefully, she seems okay, but she's never connected fully with me. Unlike someone who has connected, and that's Ren Sinclair, otherwise known as Chelsea Green 2.0, otherwise known as one of the most fun times on NXT every week. She's awesome. She's fantastic. She is and she's one of those ones that from the moment she showed up at NXT to now, the growth is leaps and bounds, not only in ring, but her character work. She's just great. I can't speak enough highly about her.
Definitely entertaining. I like to see more of her in the ring work. I haven't seen too much of that, so I can't speak on that too much.
What they've done from what I've seen, a lot of it is where she's in there. She's a good hand in there, but they were showing her kind of growing, like where she was losing at certain points, but then would get the training from the NQCC. It'll be interesting to see what happens if the NQCC does have, if they break up this week with Miles Bourne and Charlie Dempsey, or if he just leaves. It's going to be interesting to see, but she's one of those people I think that can do anything. I think that's Chelsea Green's the easiest example because maybe she's not a future world champion, although I think Chelsea Green absolutely could be. But she would be perfect in that role, in the upper mid card, get a mid card belt, have a little group with you as a baby face or a heel. Her Wednesday things on X are hilarious. She's a really talented guy. I think she's like what, 24, 25? Oh, she's 30. All right. So
I'd have to reserve my judgment just until I've seen her in her wrestle, because I've seen all her stuff,
right,
stuff online and stuff. That's cool. And she's very talented, like you said, but I haven't seen her in ring enough to know what I'm looking at yet.
And that's fair. No, that's fair. And again, like we said, with more people leaving and moving up, they'll get the opportunity. Zarya, she's for the Australian lady who came in with pretty good fanfare, and she's been pretty decent. Nothing super special, but you can tell she's talented in ring. In my opinion, she is going to turn on Sol Ruca sooner than later so that she can be like a big bad heel, because Sol Ruca has like that R-truthiness to her where you want to turn somebody at NXT into a heel, have a beat up Sol Ruca, because everybody loves Sol. So that's what I think. That's why I think they team them up, is to break them up so that Zarya can become a heel. But we'll see.
She's a nice work. She got a nice little thing going with the look she's got, and she's got to do a little in ring work because I've seen a lot of her stuff. She's a little sloppy at times, but not bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Hers is more of like finishing. She's like she's got the right food, just gotta like polish it up a little bit there and a little bit. But overall,
she's in the right place.
Yeah, and she's got the size to her. She has got a good height, and she's built. So a lot of high hopes for her. But that was the NXT women's roster. I will get that off the screen so we don't get any trouble for the adverts of it or anything. But that was fun.
So I think basically you're looking at presently they're set. Future they look pretty good. After this group goes through, the next group coming up looks good, and they got a group after that coming up. So yeah, they're doing it right.
And what that also helps you with is future recruitment, because you can show people, here's what we've done. If you go see somebody as you go trying to sign an NIL soccer player. Oh, here, Jada Parker, she was this, boom, we moved her up this way for it. It's one of those things. It also probably opens up a lot of eyes for people that are in those worlds too, especially for the athletes that are in sports. If you're great at, I don't know, shot put or javelin or like certain sports that you're not going to go pro and make millions and millions of dollars in them. Or like for Lash Legend in the WNBA, you can make a decent living, but most of those ladies spend the off season over in like Turkey and Russia and those countries that pay women's basketball players millions of dollars. It's like, do I want to go do that? Or would I want to go live in Orlando and try to make it as a wrestler? There's a lot more. For me, it gives a lot more opportunity for recruiting. Is my point in that. So I think it's great.
I think the NXT women's division is in good hands.
Oh yeah, and as of now, it's still the best. I think it's probably the best women's division on any show, but not for long, because I feel like with Roxanne, Julia, Stephanie, they were kind of the backbones. But we'll see. So for everybody that listened to this, if you liked it and you want us to do more, please let us know. This is a great idea that George had. I think it's a good thing, especially with NXT, because you have that kind of growth. Like when you're on main roster of like, I never want to say, this person should be let go or this person should be. I'm not trying to call for anybody's job, but people want us to ask, hey, what we do with a certain talent or whatever. Or I'm happy to do more of these type of things. If it's a hit, we're happy to do more. I really enjoyed this. And we went a hell of a lot longer than I thought we were going to go.
Yeah, I figured about this.
Yeah, that's what you.
Yeah, maybe a little. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, you're like the brains of the outfit. I'm like the loudness and the heart. So it works out.
Away.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We will have
stay tuned for this week's roundup.
Yes, we've got another episode, a full roundup episode we want to do, and then this Sunday we'll have Johnny Bottles on for us on Sunday Night Spaces at 8:05 p.m. Eastern via my X account at AltJakeTakesOn. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and we will catch you next time, everybody. Thanks.